Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Dana again, and today you're at Research Road. This is a weekly series where we go through science and tech news with a bit of dry humor. Then we answer some questions from y'all. Today is the 22nd of October, 2024, and on this date in 1975, the Soviet Union's Venera 9 landed on Venus and became the first spacecraft to provide images from the surface of another planet. Before we get started, I just wanted to say thanks for all of the thoughtful questions that came in this week. When I first proposed this idea, we weren't sure how it would be received. I mean, sure, I acted all confident trying to sell it, but I was nowhere near as certain as I sounded pitching it to the team. So, starting off with tech news. In news that seems to be taken directly from the pages of a dystopian sci-fi novel, the Pentagon would reportedly like to allow the Joint Special Operations Command to operate social media profiles that are backstopped by high-end AI-created visual and audio evidence. Let the conspiracy theories flourish because you know they're going to. The FCC is set to require that all phones and hearing aids work together. I honestly can't believe this needs to be a regulation. This seems like something companies would have just done for marketability. Either way, yay for accessibility. Footage circulating online appears to show a man firing his weapon at a Cybertruck and then being very surprised to discover that it isn't bulletproof. Not necessarily because of this footage, but more of a general safety tip because of other footage I've seen online. Please understand that bullets do not act like pool balls when they ricochet. Your physics is bad, and you should feel bad. And now on to space. The Europa Clipper has launched. The launch went off without any major issues, and the mission is underway. The Europa Clipper will head to one of Jupiter's moons to see if it has the needed environment to support life. The spacecraft will take a very unique route. First, it will swing by Mars and then back by Earth to use gravity to pick up speed. Yes, they're using the patented Road Runner slingshot thrust maneuver. The Artemis II launch might be delayed to the point of not seeing a launch next year. It appears the schedule for getting all of the ground systems up and running is incredibly tight, and there are estimations already that it will cause significant delays. The Artemis Accords, which provide a common set of principles to enhance the governance of the civil exploration and use of outer space, have picked up 12 new signatories so far this year. There are now 45 signatory countries. Now it's time to talk about the developing climate crisis. A study shows that among those aged 16 to 25, anxiety about the climate crisis broadly exists regardless of political affiliation. If people ever start voting in their own interests, those politicians are in real trouble. One of the most notable quotes about the study was,
"There was no state sample where the endorsement of climate anxiety came in less than 75%.
UC San Diego is now requiring students to take a course on climate change. Good. China is debuting a massive floating wind turbine that is reportedly the world's largest. A large Google-backed solar project is commercially operational and helping to power data centers in Texas. Data from the International Energy Agency says coal energy usage will fall dramatically by 2030 as solar energy usage climbs. BP reportedly plans to cut back on renewable investments. I think most people concerned with the climate saw that coming. In the world of animals, researchers have uncovered life under the sea floor. Yes, under, not on. At a depth of about 2,515 meters, which is about 8,250 feet, researchers using a robot found a thriving ecosystem with tube worms and other life in a location with no sunlight and pressure of about 250 times that found near the surface of the water. The underwater ecosystem exists in hydrothermal vents that spew out water heated by magma. This is the type of thing we should be considering when we think about what life on other planets might be like, or whether another planet has the conditions to support life. Life, finds a way. The Tasmanian tiger is closer to being de-extinctioned. Is that a word yet? If not, it should be. Researchers who plan on bringing the animal back reportedly have a 99.9% complete genome. They still have about 45 gaps, but plan on conducting some additional sequencing and expect to fill in the gaps. At least they're not using frog DNA to fill in the gaps because life finds a way. In health news, an analysis last month suggests that Texas saw a 56% increase in pregnancy-related deaths since they took away women's reproductive rights. Yes, it appears that what everybody said was going to happen is happening. Who would have thought? Except every expert in the world who predicted it. In something that could be a Halloween movie, it is being reported that a man in Kentucky who had been declared brain dead woke up just before he was to have his organs harvested. The news has launched multiple investigations. 4 agricultural workers in Washington state appear to have contracted avian flu. Now let's dig up the past a little. In Petra, archaeologists excavated an unlooted tomb in the structure known as the Treasury, which may be the site's most famous location. One of the researchers likened it to finding the Holy Grail. I really hope that was an intentional joke, because that's how most people will recognize the Treasury in Petra. It's that building carved into the side of the cliff in the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. There is some hope that the excavation will help us learn more about the Nabatean society that built Petra, but many researchers are managing expectations and asking people not to expect too much. Either way, whatever is found belongs in a museum. You would not believe your eyes if 10 million fireflies lit up the skies 99 million years ago, but it apparently happened. Researchers studying an ancient firefly trapped in amber have determined that insect bioluminescence was a trait that already existed back then. And now on to oddities. Russia is working on building nuclear-powered submarines to transport liquefied natural gas. Philip G. Zimbardo, the psychologist behind the famous or maybe infamous Stanford prison experiment, has died at 91. The experiment has been the subject of movies, books, and debate for years. China has started a survey to discover why people fear having children. Also in oddities, Vance. And now we're going to answer some of your questions. Feel free to send yours in through questionforbo@gmail.com. I also read the comments.
Why don't you ever say what country the researchers are from? Most places do. Just wondering if there's a reason.
Unless it's absolutely important to understanding the research or news item, I don't see the need to include it. Science is not confined by borders, and one thing I definitely agree with Bo about is that nationalism is just politics for basic people.
Does climate change really increase how many hurricanes we have each year?
There's no reliable data to show that. The number per year varies from year to year naturally. What it does show is that climate change makes the ones we have more damaging through 3 main factors. First is that since hurricanes need warm water, and because water temperatures are going up, the hurricanes have a greater range. That means it's likely that soon a lot of states will have to adopt building codes similar to those in Florida. Second is that rapid intensification seems to be occurring more frequently. That's when a hurricane sees its winds increase by more than 35 miles per hour in less than 24 hours. The third is that they move slower and dump more rain on an area when they make landfall.
I was wondering why you are the tech and sci-fi expert. Is it just because you like the subjects, or have you experience or degrees in the related fields? You're doing a great job, and keep up the great work.
Thanks. It's my area of interest. My formal education is only barely related to the topics discussed. I'm an avid amateur when it comes to most scientific matters. When I suggested the idea, it was really more about providing y'all with a wider range of news.
I'm a little disappointed to hear you say that we could stop aliens from filtering themselves out through the Great Filter because we know about it. I know it's science fiction, but do you not agree with the Prime Directive? Should we really try to save a species that can't save itself?
So, for those who missed last week's episode, the part of the Great Filter being referenced is the idea that any species advanced enough to achieve real space travel has already discovered the means to destroy itself. Presumably nuclear power and therefore weapons, biological weapons, internal combustion engines, the whole spectrum of man-made horrors. It's worth remembering that the filter also applies at different earlier stages of evolution as well. But primarily when it's being discussed conversationally, it's talking about intelligent life forms destroying themselves. When I talked about the idea that knowing about the Great Filter means we have a chance to stop it, I was talking about intelligent life a little closer to home. Us, humans. We seem to believe we're past the filters for the most part. I don't actually think we are. I believe that our species being wiped out by climate change or nuclear exchange is still a possibility. But that being said, when it comes to the Prime Directive, either life is important or it is not. Either we would work to save a less advanced species, even if they haven't discovered advanced space travel, or we would not, and we would watch a planet wipe itself out. It seems that caring for less advanced life would be a hallmark of those species that can make it through the Great Filter. I would suggest that if our species decides that we are the type of species that will stand idly by and watch a species wipe itself out, the first species we will watch that happen to is our own. That looks like all the questions for this week. This week's quote is attributed to Philip Zimbardo.
The line between good and evil is permeable, and almost anyone can be induced to cross it when pressured by situational forces.
So that's all the data we have to date. Hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you again soon.